So, if you don't have a block or a bolster, I'm not sure what you have, but I like to grab like a pillow or something, at least for when we get to Pigeon, so that there's some support for the hips. But otherwise, you can put some music on if you'd like, or you can just enjoy the sound of my voice. This is our yin practice, and we are going to start lying down on the back body. You'll notice that as we move through these shapes for restoration and for recalibration of the nervous system, that there is a necessary space in between most of the shapes, and that is our rebound pose. A lot of times that will be just on the back body or facing front down, prostration, and some standing ways to pause. The information that it comes through when we rebound is the data. It is the integration of why we're moving into the shape and then opening back up and receiving what is there to tell us. And so just give yourself some space and some time to feel into that. And as you lie down on your back body, one other mentionable idea around this practice is that this is not vinyasa, this isn't a flow, this isn't even holding yang poses, this is yin. Yin is to nourish and to revitalize. And within yin, we work on this scale, and we like to use the 1 in 10 scale because it's a tangible reference point for many. We're working within the threshold of a 3 to a 5. And so as we enter the shapes and as we move towards stretching our connective tissues and our muscles, our fascia, and even our minds, we're not going to the edges. We're coming into a very approachable space within ourselves. And that's something that we need to practice, not only how we greet ourselves, but how we greet each other. So a 3 to 5, just keep that in mind as far as intensity goes. So on the back line you are resting supine with the heels in and the toes out and the shoulder blades melting down into the mat, making any adjustments with the hips and the glutes so that you can comfortably come to a place of ease. And we take this easeful shape, resting on the back line, to come to a space of ease with ourselves. So go ahead and close your eyes and start to soften what you can. Invite the breath in just naturally as it flows. We're not really organizing the breath in this practice, but rather we're observing it and feeling it in its natural progression. So breathing in the stillness, breathing in the quiet space that you are carving out for yourself. Go ahead and listen. Listen to the mind's journey. Maybe where it's drawn to, maybe where it's going, maybe where it's pulling you away from. And then the beautiful thing about the mind is that we can give it a job. And as conscious beings, our self-agency is to create space for the mind to allow its activity, but give it purpose. And so as we are also agents of change for ourselves and for humanity, this would be a moment to give yourself purpose in practice. Give yourself intention. Give yourself a way to be, to cultivate, and to nourish. So take a few breaths, just processing that idea, that concept, that philosophy around how you connect with yourself and how you are in this moment. And as the breath flows with its natural cadence and rhythm and texture, go ahead and bring one hand to your heart and one hand to your belly. And feel the rhythm of prana through the belly and the lungs and the chest. And then as we allow for and make space for intention and purpose, whether it be in ourselves or in our families, or in our community, or in our global humanity, it's all valuable. It's all welcome and it's all worth it. So no intention is too small as we greet ourselves as we are. So unifying that purposeful intent through our practice, let's just take a cleansing breath. Inhale through your nose. And then open your mouth and let the air go. And as always in this practice, if something is feeling particularly nourishing, then you can remain, of course, as long as it serves you. And we're not moving quickly at all. This is a slow, thorough practice. So when you're ready, you can start some mobility through your hands and your feet. Just inquire and ask about the rolling of the wrists and the ankles, and be in a space of wonder, in a space of, how does this feel? And can I approach myself with genuine interest? And then eventually we'll hug both knees into the chest and give a little rock side to side, massaging the low back and feeling the bandwidth of the lumbar spine, the tops of the hips and the glutes. And then go ahead and separate the knees and then just circle the joints of the hips around. And you can use your hands for some direction and support. Yeah, direction and support are nice things to come across in our lives, yeah? So use what you can, use what you've got, and let it be enough. And then we're going to come into spinal twisting. So we'll go ahead and extend the right leg long. Pull the left knee up towards the left armpit, and then give a little point and flex of your left toes, just activating the left leg. And then gather an in-breath here, and then with your out-breath, go ahead and cross the body. The left knee comes over to the right side, and the left arm extends out, perpendicular to the body, extending through the heart zone, through the heart center. And again, this is that space where we start to activate and engage in a moderate stretch, in a moderate pull, and in a moderate twist, not going to 10, but really hanging in to that 3. And then as we spend some time here, maybe we drop into that 4 or 5, as far as we can allow the breath to move energy through. So these shapes take time, and really the avenue for these shapes is towards healing. That's what our connective tissues are for. Well, they're for experiencing trauma also, but our intention with moving through them are to decode the nervous system and take whatever might be stagnant or painful or toxic and take time with it. 2 to 5 minutes in these shapes, because it takes time to move through our bodies, which hold our stories. And so if you can offer more breath to your practice, if you can offer more time to be with what is, that's what we're working for and towards in this time. And if the mind really wants to wander, which it probably does, a touchstone, a point of remembrance can be at the breath. So if you need to call the mind back, then call it back towards breath. And imagine the journey of the breath. Imagine what it takes for the breath to happen, to affirm your life force. we'll just slowly unravel the shape, this spinal twist on this side, and then go right into the other side. So let the left leg go long and take your time to do so. And then pull your right knee up towards your right armpit. Give a little point and flex of the toes. Activating the right leg. And then offer up an inhalation. And with the exhalation, take the right leg over to the left side and fan the right arm out to the right, opening up through the thoracic spine and the heart center and even into the cervical spine. So something that can happen here is that the sides of the body might feel different. It might feel more challenging or easier for the right knee to fall over to the left side than the left did on the right. And that is because we are asymmetric. We are not in symmetry, left and right, masculine and feminine, light and dark. The sides of us reflect all the sides that we can be. So let the right side be different because it is different. And continue to breathe with some delicate care. I promise not to talk through the whole few minutes that we hold in each pose, but offer some stillness and quiet as well. But just giving some more context at the beginning of our practice is that this is meaningful work. This is important and valuable work. It's a space in our yin where we slow down from the frenetic state and come to a slower pace. And we're coming through a season of COVID that asks us all to really back off and slow down. And while there's some really beautiful things in what this season has offered, there's also some hardship and there's also some really challenging moments. And so just as you take care of yourself tonight, know that this practice is supporting the phases of seasons that we go through, especially the one that we've just found ourselves in with isolation and illness and all those hard things. So give some breath, some more breath. And though we are asymmetrical, we are working towards balance. So if you feel a balance starting to strike, then you can unravel. And if it's taking this side a little bit longer, then you just remain. We're going to rebound back towards the center when you're ready. You can empty the lungs, hug the knees into the chest, and then plant the soles of your feet out towards the outer edges of the mat, and then let the knees come to TP in together. And then you can either let your arms drop long, or you can rest your hands on your hip points and really feel into what you've made space for and how the twists come through. And in your breath's time, you can give a little massage to the legs as you go ahead and get that feedback loop going with yourself, paying attention and wondering about yourself. Take a happy baby pose. Lift the heels up and flex the toes back. Reach the hands to the outsides of the feet and go ahead and rock side to side. So in much of what we're experiencing in these days and in our culture is hardship, especially as we're greeting those spaces of racism in our communities and in our nation. I notice myself feeling a level of guilt when I seek a reprieve, but we do need to create those spaces to take a deep breath and to reset as we continue to do our due diligence and our work in humanity and in ourselves. So when we come into happy baby pose, it's always that sweet reminder to find joy. So we take on the namesake of that childlike play and enjoy our process and enjoy the way that we move through, the way that we can move through what we're moving through. So just enjoy that happy baby pose. And then go ahead and shape-shift over onto the side body. Let the blood flow and the blood pressure regulate before elevating the heart and the head. Whew. That was a bit of time on the back line. We're going to shape-shift over into all fours. So when you can manage your hands and your knees on the mat, then find them. And then just circle out the hips. Take a few rounds of cement mixer hips, hollowing out the belly and hollowing out the back and finding all of the ways that the hips can move through the shoulders and the chest. And as you move around here, shape-shift towards some alignment, and we'll just take a few cat-cow breaths. As you inhale, lift the head up and fan the tail back, broadening the collarbones. And as you exhale, round out your spine and press the earth away from you. Feel the back line of the heart open up. Inhale, cow pose. Belly hangs, let it soften, let it drop. Cat pose, arc it up, pull through and expose the back line of the heart. Take one more breath like that. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Come back into a neutral space. Walk your fingertips forward. We're going to come into our polar bear. So if you'd like to offer some support, you can find a cushion under the elbows. If it feels good, we're just going to keep the hips lifted and then drop the forehead and enjoy that deep underbelly stretch of the arms. Breathing into the armpits, whether you've shaved them or not, and also your face, just kind of letting your face find the earth. And just enjoy coming face down to experience what's here. Likewise, if this place is too much, you can also find a prop underneath the forehead if you don't really like that extension of face all the way down the ground, or if you have a pointy nose, that might not feel good. I have a really smushy nose, so I like it down on the ground. And as long as this is serving you, let it. If you ever need to pause and come out if something feels too intense, just do that with no shame. Yeah? No shame. Really send your breath into the space that you're opening. Under the armpits, we get into the lymphatic system, which supports our immune system, which supports our whole system of being well. So feel the armpits stretch, and the heart zone stretch. And as slowly as you can, you'll start to make your way out of that extension and move back towards hands and knees. And then we're going to release down onto the front line prostration for that integration. So you can turn onto one cheek if that feels good and drop your arms down to the sides. But sometimes that can be a little intense on the neck, and if it is, then the invitation is to stack the palms and let your forehead rest there. And And then here, integrate. What can you observe about your experience as you move through? So we take the time to observe and inquire so that we can come to understand ourselves, the way we are, the why we are, and then choose a course, a path that reflects our truth, that reflects our desires and our hopes, and we create them with clarity. And that comes through, in this practice, really slowing down to listen. And to soften. Learning how to soften our harsh edges. I have them. And sometimes it takes face down in the ground to feel them cry out and then listen to them and give them their attention so that they can be moved through with care. So take your time. Give a little tap of the toes, and then we're going to come into Sphinx Pose because we're right here. Go ahead and bring the elbows underneath the shoulders and extend the fingertips towards the top of the mat so you've got parallel lines for forearms. And then notice what you're doing with your head and just see if you can arrive in this natural curvature of the spine. So there's no kinking of the neck. There's a really natural discourse of energy flowing through the spine, even though we are in front extension. So here in Sphinx Pose, we're starting to prep the spine. We are going to move into Seal Pose, but we're going to start low so that the curvature of the lumbar is not intense. And we'll find that the process of taking time also enables for expansion. So when we take time for ourselves, we're also allowing gravity some space to do what she does, which is make more room for us. And so these minutes in these shapes are really honoring time, are really honoring the time that it takes as we become. So in that spirit of becoming, we just take on the Sphinx Pose to allow the spine its opportunity to open and lengthen. If you have clenched your glutes or engaged the low back, then go ahead and make a request to yourself to soften and let go. Stay upright through the chest. And sometimes I find in this hold that it's helpful to give a little twist. So if you're hankering for something to do here, then just look over your shoulder. Maybe then kiss your left shoulder. And then come back to the center and look over your right shoulder. Maybe kiss your right shoulder. And just feel into a little bit of the side bodies exposed through the sides of the neck and through the rib cage. And even the tops of the hips. Get a little extension here. Okay, so from Sphinx Pose, we're going to start to move up. We'll go ahead and change directions. So we're going to move up into Seal Pose. So go ahead and take the arms out a little bit wider than shoulder width. So you're coming into a little bit of a broader base. And then there's an activation here that's required so that we can drop in. So lift, 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 up, up, up into the heart and extend through the crown of the head. And then drop. First, drop the belly and really let it hang. I know this isn't something that our culture really supports in our social status, but you just let your belly hang out. Let it be soft as it can be. And then release your head into the cocoon of your shoulders. So we're really asking the neck not to do a thing. Ensure that your fingertips are pointing out, not forward. That's giving some extra support to the spine as we find that point on the ground. So as we breathe here, the invitation is going to be for vibration. Vibration is a self-regulating mechanism. And so when we find ourselves in moments that feel tense or strained, making sound, causing a tone or a buzz or a vibration helps to regulate the nervous system. So I like to do horse lips here. If you want to, you can practice that. Inhale through your nose, and then flutter your lips. Inhale through your nose. Exhale, flutter your. And once more like that. And if you feel like making a little hum, that really helps too. A few more intentional breaths in your seal. Again, see if you can soften if you've activated the back side of the legs. And as the spine gets some space, we'll make our way back down to the front line. Take your time. Maybe wriggle your fingers so you get some blood flow back there. And then place your forehead down. Move your palms underneath your shoulders and bend your knees. And then rock the heel side to side, just massaging the base of the spine in its place. I also get a little massage on the hip flexors and the quadriceps here too. When you feel ready, we'll move up through all fours to downward facing dog. Tuck toes, lift buns, and pedal out your feet. Give some space and breath to the backs of the legs. And let your down dog be a reprieve. If it isn't, then maybe find a child's pose instead. And then we're going to move from downward facing dog as a transitional shape. Walk the feet upwards slowly, as slow as you can go into forward fold. And if there's a space in the journey that asks for more time, make sure to give it. And then eventually find yourself in a sweet spot where your knees are soft and your head is heavy, and then cradle your elbows in your forward fold. And then give a little rock from side to side. Maybe release the skull, give it a little shake, giving yourself permission to say yes, shake it no, giving yourself permission to say no, and then kind of bobblehead, give yourself permission to say that I don't know, and that's okay too. And then release the hands, give a little pedal of the knees, rock the hips side to side. And then here we're going to come into our yang interlude. So go ahead and roll up with a spine. Let the hands be heavy. Let the blood flow. Give the shoulders a shrug up, up, up to the ears, and then down, down, down to the hips. And take another breath like that. Inhale, the shoulders come up, up, up to the ears. And then down, down, down. Go ahead and take a little bit of a wider base. So we're going to take a few lion's breath here. This really helps to energetically and effectively release tension. So we bring this in as our yang interlude because it is not, in fact, yin. If you have low blood pressure, then you'll want to be very mindful of the way that we come up and the way that we come down. You might encourage a slower pace, or you might encourage a not dropping of your chest. You might skip that part. So I'll go ahead and demo, and then we'll come in together and start to flow. So the inhale is a deep extension into a 5-pointed star at the top. And then the exhale is a deep, deep bend into the knees. Palms drop down to the legs. Tongue gets out of your mouth. And then you just shake it out. So we'll go through a couple cycles of 8 rounds of breath. And just give yourself some space to open up, to cleanse, to purify. If it's been a funky week for you, I know it has been for me and for our whole humanity. This is a self-regulating practice as well to help move some of that through. So when you're ready, circle sweep up. Inhale, inhale, inhale. And then lion's breath, get. Stay with that. Inhale. Last one. Come back up. And then bring your palms together down to your heart center. We'll pause. One hand to your heart, one hand to your belly. And feel into that first cycle. We're going to go through one more count of 8 breaths. Whoa. Feel your heart beating in your chest. You did with that, just with your breath. It's a powerful force, capable of stirring energy up and moving it through. So in between cycles here, we'll go ahead and find some chi thumps. Go ahead and let the upper body, pendulum around and strike the body. You can give yourself some little taps if that feels good. If it doesn't, you don't have to do it. And then we're going to go ahead and tap it out through the legs. Get the back body, get the buns. And then use fists on the arms, in the chest, and the other arm. And then the low back, and the kidneys, and the internal organs. And then get up into your shoulders, and then take your fingertips and tap the top of your skull and wake up your mind. You can even get into your face here, your temples, and then bring your palms together and rub them briskly. Create some heat in the hands, and then take the palms to the eyes and give them a little pop. And then just wash the face with the hands and get the jaw. Okay, one more cycle through. So a little bit of a wider base with the feet, a little bit wider than hips width apart. Circle sweep up, 5-pointed star. Inhale, lion's breath on the one. Come back up when you're ready. Put your hands down to your heart. And close your eyes and just feel it. Feel it. Okay. Since we're up here, we'll go ahead and come into our goddess squat or horse squat. We're coming into this shape to let the upper body press onto the legs. So if you know that you need support under your buns as you lower down, like you might find a chair or stack some blocks if it feels like a lot for you to hold yourself here. The toes point out, the heels are in, and the knees are above the ankle bones. So make sure that you're not extending your knees out over your toes, or you're not too wide where your knees can't quite bend into 90 degrees. So get low in the hips. Go ahead and give them a little motion. Circle the pelvis. Unkink any spaces that are stuck. And then drop down low. Yeah. And then take your upper body and start to put some pressure, really gentle again, 3 to 5 here on the upper thighs. If you can, drop into your hips enough to let the elbows find the legs. We're using the elbows to press the knees out and really get into the connective tissue of the groin, the bowl of the pelvis. There's so much energy here. Our root chakra lives here, and that is our reason for being. It's our life force energy that says, I'm alive for a reason. It's also the place where we find our identity. It is also the place that creates life. So we're here. Yeah. Fully loaded here if you're energetically inclined to pay attention. If you ever need a break, then you just stand up. If you want to move, you can shimmy a little bit, side to side. And there might be a point where your mind says enough, and you might say, is it really though? Or you might say, oh yeah, it definitely is, and give a little reprieve. But go ahead and give yourself some room to inquire and ask questions. The reprieve, the rebound is in fact coming. So when you're satisfied here, we will turn it into wide-legged forward fold. Go ahead and quarter turn your toes so that they're forward. Lift your hips, drop your head. Keep your knees soft, yeah? This isn't like pulling the hamstrings or the space behind the knees. It's really gentle and generous with breath. If you like a prop, find it. If you don't have one, but you need some support, you can tent pull your fingers. Make it yours and make it a shape that is nourishing to you where you are. And then invite more breath. In this time, let gravity do what she does, which is take you to her, taking you to the center of the earth as you find the center of yourself. Just practice being kind to your process. forward fold. We're going to shapeshift towards lizard pose. So let's take a neutral spine, a halfway lift. And then quarter turn, walk over to the left foot. And turn the toes so that they're pointing the top of the mat. And the hands are on the inside of the left foot. And then go ahead and scooch your right foot over so that your right foot is on the right side. Your left foot's on the left side. And here is your active lizard. You can stay lifted if it suits you. If you want to go into a passive stretch, the right knee drops. Now the wrists might feel like they've done their part, and if they have, then you can find fists here. You can find knuckles in the ground, or you can find a block and lower down to your forearms. Or you might find that the flexibility lives here and the forearms melt down to the earth. Whatever shape that you are in fact choosing, ask that it be a reflection of what you need. So not a reflection of what you think you should be doing, but an actual check-in of like, what is going on here and how can I meet myself and really show up? And then make that shape. And don't make any other shape. If you find yourself making a shape that isn't yours to make, then shake it off and find a shape that really serves where you are. So again, bringing in the opportunity and the reminder, the cue to make noise and vibration. I like to do a buzz like you're a bee, like a honeybee, like a big bumblebee that, like goes around all the flowers and takes in their aroma and their pollen and then makes something like honey that's like sweet nectar. What a cool life. So, just buzz. Buzz. Yep, that's right. That's how you do it. Just buzz. Just buzz one more time. Yeah. So when we make that sound, it's playful and fun. That's important. But it's also important because it activates the vagus nerve, which is under your tongue. And the vagus nerve is in direct correlation with the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the opposite of your fight or flight system. It's the rest and reset system. So when we make that buzzing sound or that horselip sound, it is a recalibration of that system so that we can rest and reset with more ease rather than keep attention high and alert. We're going to counter here in wide-legged forward fold. That will be the rebound. So take your time, lift the back heel, and then drop it and shape shift back towards the center of the mat. Let the upper body fall. You can give the wrists a rinse here if that feels good. It probably will. You can also interlace your fingers and give the heart center a rinse if that feels good, and the shoulders a rinse. Notice how it feels. And then we'll move towards the other side, towards the right foot when you're ready. Transition to hands on the inside of the right foot. The left toes tuck under, and then the left foot kind of scooches over, and so does the right, so we're on railroad tracks with the legs. Options are to stay up high really activating the hip flexors if that's what needs attention, or dropping the left knee down and settling into the hips and opening the right side connective tissue of the bowl of the pelvis. So take some time, take some breaths, and drop in a way that's meaningful and vital for you. If you want to buzz, we'll facilitate that again. Just letting our vibration come through. Just buzz. One more buzz. And then feel it. And when you feel the balance coming through on this side, then this time we are going to shapeshift into a deep frog squat, into Malasana squat. So we'll rebound there. Tucking the left toes under, step and lift the left foot up towards the top of the mat. Turn the heels in, the toes out. Drop the booty down low. Bring your palms together to touch at your heart. Lengthen your spine and reach the crown of your head. Certainly if this feels like a lot, then sit on something or lift yourself up so that you're not in such a deep squat. Just check in again. We're just checking in. Check in as many times as we can, giving our full attention to what we are moving through. Our attention is the most valuable thing we have. And this practice in this shape is asking for it full on. And we check in like we would with our sweetest friend, or our kindest relationship. Imagine that you are checking in on your dearest relationship, and then mirror that to yourself. Check in with you, like you care. And then we're going to shapeshift, lifting up through the buns and dropping the head. Let's go ahead and step the right foot back, so the left foot's forward. And then heel toe the left foot over, setting up for pigeon. Drop the left knee behind the left wrist. Lengthen the right leg long, lift the upper body tall, breathe in, and then lower down to maybe your forearms, or maybe stack your fists as you melt down into your pigeon. If this feels like a lot of tension on the left knee, then flip on over and find figure 4. So you're choosing the shape that serves you and what you need. And then we'll give it some time. I also like to invite the space for singing songs when we come into our yin practice. It's something that I've been doing this week, is listening to music created by Black people to get more in touch with the culture that I have not been giving my attention to. And the song I listened to this morning was that, "Wait a minute, Mr. Postman, wait, Mr. Postman, is there a letter for me?" You know it, yeah. You can sing it if you want. Yeah. Part of this movement culturally is, in anti-racism, is to pay more attention to, what are our influences? Are we only listening to music made by white people? Are we only listening or reading books that are white people driven or written? And so that's a part of my self-education and process in this journey. So finding a way to bring that in to Pigeon Pose, yeah? Okay. We're going to move to the other side. So when you're ready, or if you're still singing, you can keep singing. Come on up. Lift the upper body, and then roll on over to the left hip and swing the right leg around. And then swing the left leg around, bending the right knee, and then extending the left leg for pigeon. Coming back up, lengthening the spine, and then dropping down. Dakota really likes, "Ain't no mountain high, ain't no valley low, ain't no river wide enough, baby." You know it. You can sing it in Pigeon. Yeah. You can sing whatever you want. Make a tone come through and just feel what sound does to our experience. Sound helps to open us up. Vibration helps to open us up. Tones help to open us up. And why do we want to open up? Oh, that's where the goodness is. When we're open, ready, and willing to share who we are, that is where the nectar of life comes through. So this practice is supporting that journey of opening up and then making safe passage for expression. Giving another breath or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 to the side of your pigeon or your figure 4 or whatever shape you've taken on. And when you're ready, rise on up, lift the heart, lift the head, roll over onto the right hip, and then use the left hand to help swing the left leg around. Bend at the knees. Place the soles of the feet at the top of your mat. Bring your palms to them. And then inhale, lift the chest and open the heart. Extend the legs out. And then exhale, close the knees and round the spine back. Bring your chin into your chest. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, lift the heart, open, roll the shoulders back. And then exhale, close and round back. And this time, come back up, reach your fingertips forward, lengthen your spine. And as you exhale, lower down. One vertebrae at a time, and come into one long body stretch, extending the heels and the toes and the hands in opposing lines of energy that helps to stretch us, when we're not always going in the same direction. We stretch, we grow, we learn, and then we come to rest in a comfortable shape for Shavasana. making way for a safe passage for yourself to come to stillness. And in the stillness, find a way to listen to what has been stirred, what has been lifted up, what is rising, and hear it. Hear it from the center of yourself. And breathe. In our virtual Yin tradition, this is where I will leave you as far as facilitation goes. So enjoy the stillness and enjoy the quiet. Acknowledge the mountains you're moving in yourself, all the elements that were brought into our practice tonight of healing and awareness around ourselves and our own journeys and our systemic cultural racism journey. It's all been brought in, and there's time here to move through with care. There's time here to be still and quiet enough to hear your part, to come into deep listening, come into communion with yourself and what is at the center of you. And so the invitation is to do that and to make whatever reconciliations you can in this moment. Let them come through as you breathe and be tender. Know that we practice these things for ourselves so that we move around in our world with each other in a way that is kind and tender. So take your time, enjoy a place of rest and recoup. And the brilliant light that I am is honored to be in the presence of the brilliant light that you are. Thank you for your practice. Namaste.